The idea of being enslaved is one of the most horrifying and unsettling experiences imaginable. While slavery was officially abolished in many countries in the 19th century, the legacy of this brutal system continues to impact people's lives worldwide. In this video, we will explore the question of whether we are still slaves and examine the current state of slavery around the world. The issue of modern slavery is complex and multifaceted. According to the International Labour Organization, ILO, there are an estimated 40 million people in modern slavery globally, and the numbers are rising. Modern slavery takes many different forms, including forced labor, debt bondage, forced marriage, and human trafficking. It is a global problem that affects people of all ages, genders, and nationalities. In many cases, people are forced into slavery due to poverty, political instability, and conflict. The industries where modern slavery is most prevalent include agriculture, manufacturing, construction, and the sex trade. The victims of modern slavery often endure physical and emotional abuse, and their freedom and dignity are stripped away. While many countries have taken steps to combat slavery, it remains a significant human rights issue, and the fight against slavery is an ongoing effort. It is important to understand the current state of slavery, the forms it takes, and the industries where it is prevalent, to combat it effectively. In this video, we will examine the historical context of slavery, the modern-day forms of slavery, and the legal and social framework that has been put in place to fight it. The historical context of slavery. Slavery has a long history that dates back to ancient civilizations such as Mesopotamia, Egypt, and Greece. In many societies, slavery was an integral part of the economic and social system, with enslaved people performing a wide range of tasks such as agricultural labor, domestic service, and skilled trades. The transatlantic slave trade, which lasted from the 16th to the 19th century, is perhaps the most well-known example of slavery. It involved the forced transportation of millions of Africans across the Atlantic Ocean to the Americas to work on plantations and in mines. This brutal practice had a profound impact on the societies involved and has left a lasting legacy of racial inequality and injustice. Slavery was also prevalent in many other parts of the world, including the Middle East, Asia, and Europe. In some cases, people were enslaved as a result of war or conquest, while in other cases, they were sold into slavery by their families or by criminals. Over time, various movements emerged to abolish slavery. These included the abolitionist movement in Europe and the Americas, which advocated for the abolition of slavery and played a key role in ending the transatlantic slave trade. Other movements, such as the anti-colonial movement, also played a role in challenging and ending the practice of slavery in many parts of the world. Despite the significant progress that has been made, slavery still exists today, and its legacy continues to impact society. To fully understand the current state of slavery, we need to examine the various forms it takes and the industries and regions where it is most prevalent. Modern slavery. Modern slavery is a global issue that affects millions of people worldwide. According to the International Labour Organization, ILO, there are an estimated 40 million people in modern slavery globally. Modern slavery takes many different forms, including forced labor, debt bondage, forced marriage, and human trafficking. Forced labor is perhaps the most common form of modern slavery, with people being forced to work under threat of violence, coercion, or deception. Debt bondage is another common form of slavery, in which people are forced to work to pay off a debt that they may never be able to repay. Forced marriage is also a form of slavery, with individuals being forced into a marriage against their will, often for financial gain. Human trafficking is another aspect of modern slavery, and it involves the recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring, or receipt of persons by means of threat, use of force, deception, or coercion, for the purpose of exploitation. Human trafficking can take many forms, including sexual exploitation, forced labor, and organ harvesting. Modern slavery is prevalent in many different industries, including agriculture, manufacturing, construction, and the sex trade. The victims of modern slavery often endure physical and emotional abuse, and their freedom and dignity are stripped away. Despite the fact that modern slavery is illegal in most countries, it remains a significant issue, and the numbers of people affected are on the rise. Addressing modern slavery requires a concerted effort from governments, law enforcement agencies, civil society organizations, and individuals. The fight against modern slavery is ongoing, and it requires a comprehensive approach that addresses the root causes of the problem, protects victims, and holds perpetrators accountable. The legal and social framework for combating slavery. The fight against slavery is an ongoing effort, and there are various legal and social frameworks in place to combat modern-day slavery. These frameworks aim to prevent and prosecute the crime of slavery, provide support for victims, and promote awareness of the issue. At the international level, there are various treaties and conventions that prohibit slavery and related practices, including the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the International Labor Organization's Forced Labor Convention. The United Nations, UN, has also established the United Nations Global Initiative to Fight Human Trafficking, UN. GIFT, which aims to coordinate efforts to combat human trafficking and raise awareness of the issue. At the national level, many countries have passed laws and regulations to combat slavery and human trafficking. In the United States, for example, the Trafficking Victims Protection Act provides a legal framework to investigate and prosecute human trafficking cases, while in the United Kingdom, the Modern Slavery Act establishes the legal framework for addressing modern slavery and human trafficking. Civil society organizations also play an essential role in the fight against modern slavery. These organizations provide support for victims, raise awareness of the issue, and advocate for stronger legal protections. In addition, corporations have a responsibility to ensure that their supply chains are free from slavery and forced labor. Many corporations have implemented policies and procedures to identify and address these issues in their supply chains. Despite the various legal and social frameworks in place, modern slavery remains a significant issue, and much work remains to be done. To combat modern slavery effectively, it is essential to address the root causes of the problem, protect victims, and hold perpetrators accountable. This requires a coordinated effort from governments, law enforcement agencies, civil society organizations, and individuals around the world. The personal and societal impact of slavery. Slavery has a profound impact on the individuals and societies that it affects. For individuals, the impact of slavery can be devastating, with victims experiencing physical and emotional abuse, trauma, and loss of freedom and dignity. Victims of slavery often suffer from long-term physical and mental health consequences, including depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and chronic pain. Slavery also has a broader societal impact, with the practice of slavery perpetuating a cycle of poverty, inequality, and exploitation. Slavery deprives individuals of their rights and freedoms and reinforces existing power structures that benefit those who hold economic and social power. Slavery can also perpetuate other forms of discrimination and inequality, such as racism, sexism, and classism. The impact of slavery is not limited to individuals and societies directly affected by slavery. Slavery is a global issue that has far-reaching consequences, including environmental degradation, public health crises, and economic instability. The industries that rely on slave labor often have negative impacts on the environment, as well as public health, and the exploitation of workers contributes to economic instability. To address the personal and societal impacts of slavery, it is essential to support victims, address the root causes of the problem, and work towards creating more equitable and just societies. This requires a comprehensive approach that involves legal frameworks, public awareness campaigns, and efforts to combat poverty, inequality, and discrimination. It is also essential to address the demand for products and services that rely on slave labor and to promote ethical and sustainable practices that support human rights and dignity. In conclusion, the legacy of slavery continues to impact individuals and societies worldwide, and modern slavery remains a significant issue. While many countries have taken steps to combat slavery through legal and social frameworks, much work remains to be done. To effectively address the issue of slavery, it is essential to recognize the personal and societal impact of slavery, as well as the broader global consequences. To combat modern slavery, it is essential to support victims, address the root causes of the problem, and promote ethical and sustainable practices. This requires a coordinated effort from governments, law enforcement agencies, civil society organizations, and individuals around the world. It is also essential to raise awareness of the issue and promote public education and engagement to help build a more just and equitable world. Ultimately, the fight against slavery is a moral imperative, and the continued existence of slavery is a violation of human rights and dignity. By working together to combat slavery, we can help create a world that is free from exploitation and where all individuals have the opportunity to live their lives with freedom, dignity, and respect. Thank you for watching this video exploring the question of whether we are still slaves and examining the current state of slavery around the world. We hope this video has shed light on the ongoing issue of modern slavery and the impact it has on individuals and societies. While the fight against slavery is a daunting one, it is essential to recognize that progress can be made through collective efforts. By supporting victims, addressing the root causes of the problem, and promoting ethical and sustainable practices, we can work towards a world that is free from exploitation and where all individuals are treated with dignity and respect. If you would like to learn more about modern slavery and what you can do to help combat it, we encourage you to research and support organizations that are working to end slavery and support victims. Together, we can make a difference and help build a more just and equitable world for all. Thank you for watching.